My name is Mia Grace Cantrell. I am originally from McMinnville, Tennessee. I am currently a rising third-year grad student at Vanderbilt. I'm getting my PhD in physics. I do biophysics research. So at Vanderbilt, my work is looking at wound healing. So I look at how cells signal to each other that a wound has happened, and so the physics comes in of me writing a lot of code to understand what's happening in the cells, and it's a very collaborative environment. Like I said, I'm a third year and I work with first years, I work with undergrads. We've had a couple high school students come in the lab. I was a physics undergrad at UT. So I switched to physics my sophomore year of college. It was something I was interested in high school, but never really got a real feel for what physics was, because physics is one of the STEM areas that's left out, I feel like. Everybody kind of forgets about it and doesn't really talk about it that much. And so I went into college actually as a chemistry major, took chemistry and realized I was not a chemistry major. I remember when I took my very first exam in college, it was a chemistry exam, and I made a 43. And I was like, this is the worst day of my entire life. Like, I got good grades all throughout high school, and then I went to college and make a 40 on my exam. Like, what's going on? And I had a breakdown, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I took my first physics exam, and I made like a 96, and I was like, wow, this is definitely where I'm like supposed to be. I think of someone who is creative, who is curious, someone who has a lot of questions about the world and how it works, and questioning perspectives, questioning methods, just a desire to learn, I think, is what I think of when I think of a scientist. I don't think of any specific person or stereotype, because none of those are true. I don't instinctively think of myself as one, but when someone says we are scientists, I'm kind of like, I guess I would consider myself one. I mean, I do science work, I do science research. I'm involved in a community of scientists, so the insecure part of me doesn't think I am, but I think by definition I would be considered a scientist. I think my first one was, I did a summer internship at Oak Ridge after my junior year of college. I worked with the experimental astrophysics group there, and we were working on, I was 3D printing jet cones to put inside a jet pressure chamber, and I was trying to figure out what shape cone gave us the best pressure gauge. And so I worked on that all summer, and I ended up going to Washington, D.C. to present that research at a conference, and one of the older group members came up to me when I was presenting. They had a big poster session. I was standing beside my poster, and he was like, isn't it so cool that when you get finished with this, you are able to talk about it because you were the one that did that? Like, you were the one who wrote the poster. You were the one that took all of this data. And I was kind of like, you're right, because up to that point, I would sit in meetings and I didn't know half the words people were saying. I wasn't adding anything. I was barely staying awake because I had no clue what was happening. But then when people would ask me questions, I knew the answer, or I would at least try to answer. And I think that for me was a big turning point of, maybe this is why I hadn't been able to participate, is because I hadn't done anything. And once you actually do those things and you can talk about it, it makes you feel like you're actually contributing something, like you're actually adding something. And I think I've kind of felt that same way at Vanderbilt, actually, like showing up to meetings and you're just kind of listening and you don't have anything to say, but once you start working and presenting, you're like, oh wow, like I actually do know this because I was the one that did it and I can tell you about it. So I think those were two big ones. Presenting at Washington, D.C. was big, and then just small ones at Vanderbilt, small little milestone steps have made a big difference. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Faculty members at universities and most high school teachers genuinely do want you to succeed, and they're not there to make you look dumb. They're not there to boggle you down. Ask the tough questions, show up. Hard work will get you a lot farther than you think it will, because the person that comes to class every day and asks questions every day and gets a bad grade on the exam is probably going to end up better than the person that doesn't show up and still gets bad grades. What you contribute to your field is very important, but the person that you are is just as important.